Welcome to Ken's Korner Podcast, Season 4.
Hi, everyone. It's Ken from Ken's Korner, and today I'm back on with Joe Moyer here on Sports Timeout. Joe, we're back here to speak about, what we always talk about, Joe. Let's talk about the Maple Leafs. I know that last game was a little bit of a stinker, and I don't know. We seem to be having a few more of these stinkers. We went something like 500 games without being shut out, but somehow we've been shut out 4 times this year. So I don't know. And we still sit as we speak in first place in the Atlantic Division. Do you find that surprising, or is that just a testament to the players playing out there that end up on that ice and they don't allow too many of these stinkers to pile up in a row?
Well, I think that's been the strength of the Leafs so far, Ken. They haven't had a long stretch. They had the 3-game losing streak, I think, twice this year, and that's been about it. They tend to bounce back after bad games. I didn't think the Columbus game they played as poor. The effort was there, the chances were there, the pucks just weren't bouncing. And, when you give up an early goal like that, Dennis Hildeby, I don't think had a strong game. It affects you when you're a player on the ice and your goalie lets in one and then two and then three, and your energy level, your positivity drops. Like it or not, we're all human. Drops about a certain percentage, and then you kind of it's not there. Where if you look back and you go, I got Anthony Stolarz or Joseph Wall back there. The mindset might be just a little bit different. The push might be a little bit different. So again, not a knock on Hildeby. I don't think he had his best game. He hadn't played in 21 days, so the poor kid was thrown in there to face those shots. I think the Leafs made the right move in sending him down to the Marlies. He needs to play a lot. Matt Murray, bring him up. Is he going to be any worse than Hildeby? Or, we hope he's better. But I think that was the right move, a bit more veteran experience. And, if you're developing Hildeby long term, he needs to play, not Matt Murray. Matt Murray's an insurance policy. So,
Yeah, you're 100% right there. And I think it has to do with a little bit with how Murray is, in fact, performing in the AHL. He has something like a 1.73 goals against with a couple of shutouts since he's been back with the Marlies. So I don't know if that's going to translate to the NHL level, but let's hope that if he does get into a game here before Anthony Stolar gets back on the ice for the Leafs, in the playing in our crease, being able to play, which hell we're hoping is really really soon. Let's hope Murray can translate to the NHL level.
well, I'm sure Murray hopes that too, because how he goes out this season is determining whether he gets a contract from somebody next year, right? So he's playing for his career, which is good. That's what you want. He's going to be hungry. He's going to want to make an impact and get noticed. And I don't think the Leafs will be trading him at the trade deadline. They may get a couple of inquiries if he continues to play well and shows well in the next couple of times he plays, because they want that insurance. Because with Stolarz and Wall, you just have no idea. They still seem fragile. Stolarz full practice this week with the Leafs, really good sign. So you want to make sure you got those bodies ready to go, because the playoffs is, if it's a long one, and let's hope it is, the playoffs are a grind, and if all it takes is a little bit of tweak here and there, and then you're relying back on Hildeby again. So
Yeah.
as far as the Leafs' position in the division, I mean, yes, they're first place, but Boston's taken a step back. I think Tampa Bay's taken a step back for sure. That helps us because those are two teams that are normally battling for a first spot. Florida is right there, not as strong as they have been, but it's the Florida Panthers. And it says something about Ottawa and Montreal have beat some top teams this year, and those are teams that have come, and Buffalo for that matter, that have come out of nowhere to take some points away that normally would have been easy ones. So it's a competitive division, and we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, we're going to touch on that, Joe, in a little bit. We'll get your two surprises so far this season in your mind from both our conference and out there in the West. But we'll get back to that. Yeah, so let's set up this game that we're heading into. The Ottawa Senators. Hell, we have so much problem with Ottawa. I know they're not playing the best of hockey of late, and even Brady Tkachuk has come under scrutiny for his play of late in the Ottawa region and with their media. What do you expect to see here? Well, I guess as we're taping, it will be tomorrow. I'm used to saying tonight here on the radio. So let's get your thoughts and feelings on Toronto versus Ottawa in Ottawa, the nation's capital, Joe.
Well, I mean, as always, there'll be lots and lots of Leaf fans, and that tends to work in reverse fashion for the Ottawa Senators, as we've seen. They get extra pumped up for the Leafs because they're like, "All right, you fans want to come here? We're gonna be having our best game," and that's what worries me. And the Leafs tend to take opponents for granted. That's been their history. They've come out and sort of thought, okay, we got an easy one tonight. And lo and behold, aka Columbus, lost to them a couple times this year. That's a team that on paper we should have no trouble beating, but we have had trouble. So we'll see. Ottawa has had trouble scoring. I think that's been some of the heat on Brady Tkachuk as they expect a few more goals from him. Yeah, he's tenacious. He's causing havoc. He's doing that. But at the end of the day, it's about scoring goals. And they were shut out this week against the Bruins. And so I expect it's going to be a tight game. The Leafs got to come out and send a message that you're not even in our league. We're going to dust you off and win, get back on the winning track. Easier said than done because of the injuries. I mean, you look at who we're missing. We're missing John Tavares. We're missing Max Pacioretty, Connor Dewar. Okay, and that means that other guys got to step up. That means Pontus Holmberg is in the lineup, and probably Ryan Reeves is making an appearance. And these aren't guys that are going to fill the net with pucks. To be honest with you, right?
And what did you think of the reaction from the crowd when that big? I thought it was a great fight from Ryan Reeves' first of the season with Matthew Oliver from the Columbus, who's that was his 10th fight. Do you think it should have been a little louder inside that building?
Listen, everybody knew it was a staged fight. It was one of those ones they knew they were going to do it ahead of time. They talked about it in the media the day before. Reeves hadn't had one. Everybody said that Olivier's going to give him a fight. They did. Yeah, it's exciting, but I think the fans sensed the Leafs were off, and I think that's the difference is it wasn't a good game to watch. It was one of those games where you watch the Leafs and you go, they're just not going to be able to do this tonight. They weren't executing well. The power play just continues to be an absolute disaster, I'm sorry to say. And so, yeah, the fight was great, and Reeves, it was a good one. I think it was a draw. I don't know if one won over the other. But at the end of the day, fans want to see victories. They want to see goals. And I had a sense that game, much like that Vancouver game a couple of weeks ago, the Leafs aren't going to pull this off. And that's what the Leafs were about. They're about no matter how far down we can come back. And I didn't get a sense that that was going to happen. And I want to get your thoughts on pulling the goalie with 9 minutes to go in the third period, down
Yeah,
4-1.
that's got to be a record.
I don't know. I guess they were hoping to
It's
win the
odd.
draw and gain the zone, but I thought that was too early.
Maybe it was to get Adam Fantilli that goal because his mother needed to throw her hat onto the ice. They seen his 70 friends and family were, and the Belle de Lusa Balua. I think that's how you say the name from Woodbridge. They had an extra 30 people, and he scored as well. And lo and behold, James Van Riemsdyk. Oh my God! But anyway, so let's hope the Leafs can put everything into this game. I know we'll probably be without Matthew Nyes as of recording this. I believe he's day to day with an upper body injury that he sustained in that last game against Columbus. But you know what? If we can get through this one, maybe Jacob Quinlan might be making his NHL start. And if you don't know who that is, he won the tournament that Matthew Nyes was playing when when Nyes was playing for Minnesota. Quinlan was playing for Boston and actually starred in that NCAA win. Anyway, it looks like he might get his start, but we're back again. We're off a few days, so we might have a few days of rest, and possibly Matthew Nyes will be back into the lineup against those Minnesota Wild, which is not until Wednesday, Joe.
Yeah, I would think they're going to give him the weekend off. They're going to be extra cautious. It looks like Bobby McMahon, a similar type player, is going to be starting with Matthews and Marner. Then they've got Domi, Holmberg, and Nylander, hence the need for another centerman. Lawrence, Camp, and Robertson, and Quillen, Minton, and Reeves is your fourth line. So it's going to be a bit of a different look. I'm not unhappy to see Bobby McMahon get a bit of a longer shot. I think he could also be a good fit. He's had a good season as well, and can score some goals. But you certainly see our depth being tested when you've got Pontus Holmberg, David Kampf, and Fraser Minton as your next three centers. So if that doesn't speak, shout out to Brad Treliving. We need some centers. We need center depth. We don't have it. I don't have faith in any of those three. I think Minton ideally shouldn't be with the Leafs. He should be with the Marlies and racking it up down there, but out of necessity he is. And then you're putting him on the fourth line with Reeves and Quillen. Like, are we expecting him to do anything there? No, he's just filling a spot. So again,
Yeah.
not ideal for development of him. Um,
Exciting for him though, at least.
Exciting for Quillen, but I'm not expecting Fraser Minton is going to load the net full of goals with playing with those two guys. Again, he's better served in the Marlies this season. I want to talk to you about Morgan Riley. I know I've been beating the Morgan Riley drum for a couple of shows now that I don't know what's wrong with him. If he's lost a step, does he need a change of scenery? Defensively, he's a disaster. I'm sorry to say. He's on the ice for -2 again the other night. Doesn't seem to have any sense of where the puck is. Can't clear the front of the net, tie up a stick. What is wrong with Morgan Riley, Ken?
Well, that's the big question, and it's been asked all over Twitter and every other media outlet that I've ever watched over the last little while. We all love Morgan Riley, and we hope that he can somehow miraculously turn this season around. I mean, we're still sitting in first and doing pretty well, but if he can start playing even half of the Morgan Riley of old, it's going to make a difference. I mean, he's making what close over $8 million a season with a no trade clause. I don't even think it's possible that we can trade him unless we're going to get.
Hello, Vancouver Canucks. Are you listening?
Well, he would be the only one I would think that he would waive it for. I mean, even still, Vancouver's on the bubble. Or is he going to want to go to Vancouver and possibly miss the playoffs?
Well, he's from Vancouver. I believe he makes his home there in the summer with his ex figure skater wife, and I believe they have a child now. So maybe that's something that you talk about. Maybe he would enjoy a change of scenery and go, you know what, I need to redo something, play under Rick Tocchet. Who knows? I
Yeah.
don't know. I love Morgan Riley as a guy. He's been a trooper. He's never panned out to be the offensive defenseman that I think we all thought he was. We've seen flashes of it. He's not a power play quarterback, in my opinion. He's not the right guy for that. He is trying. Great guy, good ambassador for the Leafs. But I think it's time to move on, get a fresh start, which I think will help his career. And I think will help the Leafs if we can get something
Yeah.
for him in Vancouver.
Well,
They're
I
a dumpster
don't.
fire right now. They need to start doing something to change culture. And I think he'd be a great
Yes.
guy in the room.
Definitely. And don't expect JT Miller to be coming to Toronto. I don't think he wants to come to
Don't
another
want him.
Canadian city. And I don't think Vancouver is willing to trade away Pedersen. I think
14's been traded 3 times. Don't want him. I'm
who will
sorry.
we get back from Morgan Riley that's going to make a difference? Or are we going to just lose that trade?
Well, when you're trading from a point of weakness, you're going to lose. If you're trying to do addition by subtraction, and I think that's what Vancouver's going to find with Miller is that they're not going to win that trade. They're going to be just taking something for the sake of trying to change culture. And for the Leafs, it might be give us a young prospect because we've got some defensive depth. It all depends on Hawk and Paw. But I mean, we're not. Are we missing Riley's 3 goals this season? Is that going to make a big difference?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, no. Playoffs is a different animal, but that's this whole Leaf team as a whole. I don't care what you do in the regular season. Finished first, that's great, big deal. That means nothing.
I
Do
want, I
something
want,
in the playoffs.
yeah, exactly. I do want to approach some trade rumors I've been hearing lately. I don't know if you've heard the same thing. I'm sure you've heard the Yanni Gord talk, two-time Stanley Cup champion. On the smaller side, he is only 5'9", but who I'm interested in, well, obviously Brandon Tanev, and I think that would just be great for him to be reunited with his brother. I mean, he's never played with Chris ever in the NHL. It would be amazing to see them both on the same team. But also Jamie Olisiak, 6'7" defenseman. Is there a possible way that we could get their contracts with a third team and get all three of those players here in Toronto.
Well, if Morgan Riley would agree to go to neighbor Seattle, there's some money off the books. You're going to have to give up something to get those players. So that's going to be an Easton Cowan or a Fraser Minton and a first round pick. If you're gonna do a package deal like that, which I think would be a great move for the Toronto Maple Leafs, because listen, the time is now. We don't need draft picks. Easton Cowan might be an NHLer, might not. I think his stock has fallen a little bit. Fraser Minton, is he going to be a first line center? I don't think so. He might be a good third line center. These are guys that are going to develop 3, 4, 5 years from now in their prime. The time is now with this core four. Now is Mitch Marner, William Nylander, Austin Matthews, 9 years in. They're only going to start declining in the next year or so. This is a do or die as far as I'm concerned. If we don't go for it now, yeah, everybody says don't give up assets. I don't care about someone that might be a decent player 3 years from now. I care about maximizing our talent and our guys now because we may not have Mitch Marner next year,
Yeah,
like it or
that's
not,
very
right? So
true.
let's augment these guys with what we have now and throw everything you have at it. You got to throw everything you got now while they're in their prime because they
Well,
are.
I do know we don't have a first round draft pick to trade next
2026
season,
we
but
do.
we do the following year. You are
Absolutely.
right there. Now, if Morgan Riley could be part of that package, is Yanni Gord that center? Like I seen you say, your
Well, it's
eyebrows were raised on the Alessia and Tanev idea, but is
it's
Yanni
going to be hard to
Gord that
top
center?
Pontus Holmberg at center or
I
David
honestly
King.
like the idea of Yanni Gord, Domi, and who would be that line? McMahon.
Do you trade Domi?
I don't see Domi going anywhere.
It's unfortunate.
I don't see
I
that.
don't see what Domi's bringing to the table. Nice guy, hard worker, good passer. How many goals has he got this year? 3?
Yeah, he is
Need
snake
more.
bitten as far as the goals go, and he's not producing that way. But his passing ability and his defensive play, he is a very tenacious player. He'll stand up for his teammates, and it's something to behold come playoff time. His type
Brandon
of play.
Tanev wouldn't do that.
Actually, there's the third player. Now, if we had Domi with Gord, and Brendan Tanev, can you imagine
I
that?
just, I just see our forward depth. I look at these lines in practice with the injuries, and it's going to fall all on Marner's, Matthew, and Nylander. That's all I see there. Maybe McMahon. There's Steve Lorentz isn't going to be scoring. Pontus Holmberg is not scoring. That's the problem with the Leafs is there's too much invested in their top 3 and 4, and now Tavares is out. So I mean, if we lose Matthews or Marner, we're done. We're not finishing first.
Well,
We
that's
won't
any
win for
team
any
in
length
the
of time.
NHL with injuries as they come. It is that type of game as we can attest. Even just going to watch the local Stouffville Spirit games, we see the guys taking some heavy hits along the boards, and it's a physical game, and that's how it's meant to be.
Yeah, for sure. I just looking at our forward depth, and I just don't see it. And I think Brad
Yeah.
Treliving is aware of it. I think Craig Berube's aware of it. They're making the most out of it, but too much is falling on Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and deciding if Willie Nylander is going to decide if he's going to play this week or not.
Well,
And
at
I think
least at least we are getting production from those guys in our
yeah.
wins. So, and we're winning more and we're losing. That's the fact.
Come playoffs, Ken, when it gets tighter and it gets more physical and injuries happen, who's going to step up if Marner gets hurt? Not that Marner's produced in the playoffs because he hasn't.
Well, Joe, this is how playoffs go. The teams that win, players do step up, and it's those guys that you don't expect. Steve Lawrence did that for Florida last
Yeah,
year. He
absolutely.
played, and Oliver Ekman Larsson did that for Florida last year.
Is Ryan Reeves or Pontus Holmberg or Connor Dewar going to
I
be
don't
those players
expect
that do it?
Pontus Holmberg to be in our lineup come playoff
Exactly my
time.
point.
I do not
Exactly my
expect
point.
that, Joe. I do expect Connor Dewar to be in there because he does lead. Well, he doesn't lead, but he is one of our top defensive guys, and he hits
I know.
guys more than
You're a glass half full guy,
almost
Ken.
everyone on our team. So,
When they shut down Marner, Matthews, and Nylander, is Connor Dewar going to fill the net with goals?
well, that's the
No,
thing. Well,
that's
Craig
the
Berube
problem.
hockey is built on defending as well. And that's the thing. We're going to get into those 2-1-3-2 games come playoff time. And I think our team is way more comfortable playing that way this season than
Yeah.
they have been in seasons past.
I think I'm a little jaded because when time and space gets taken away in the playoffs and it's more physical, our best players have not been our best players. And what's going to change this year? When that happens, what you need to have is a better supporting cast that can step up. So when Marner and Matthews and
Definitely.
Nylander are getting triple checked and getting cross checked to the face, and
And this is on
then their
manager.
secondary guys got to step up. So that's where Domi's got to step up. That's where Lorentz has got to step up.
You're
That's
not
where,
wrong.
you know,
This is where our manager Brad True comes in, and let's give him a chance. And I know he's not the biggest in season trade guy, and he likes to bring in guys with term. Let's see what he can do for us.
No,
Uh,
I agree. I'm just saying, as constructed now, I don't see a long playoff run with the way this team is now because of their forward depth. Max Pacioretty is
well,
paper
here's the
thin. He
thing.
gets hurt.
Here's the thing. Teams like Washington, who went 12 years, no one expected them to win in that 13th year. They didn't go into that playoff as the best team. And lo and behold, at the end of the year, they went through, right? They did what they did. Steve Yzerman, if they have traded Steve Yzerman to the Ottawa Senators, would Detroit have won as many Stanley Cups? Before that, they didn't win for 9 straight years. I mean, I could talk to Paul Henny Hendrick and get him back on here to shoot some more history for us. But um, I do want to talk about one thing before we sign off here today. And I want to give you the chance, if you want, to walk back on your thoughts on the Connor McDavid's suspension, and if you felt that he should have been suspended. Uh, I mean, what's your thoughts on that, or do you feel the same way as you did on the fan panel just last week?
What were those four referees doing? Out to lunch. You're watching the best player in the game with their goalie pulled get tackled to the ice and hit and sticked and basically hog ties him down there. Is it any wonder he's frustrated? And that's just one little snippet, and no one calls that. If that was a 2 minute penalty, none of this would have happened. Everything would have been fine. How the four referees let that happen? What do you expect the player? He's human. He's frustrated. If you watch Sidney Crosby, watch the abuse that guy takes every day with players giving little dirty shots, tying him up, taking, because he is, in his day was the best premier player. And I don't blame Connor McDavid for saying, screw this, enough is enough. I mean, this is ridiculous. Like in every other sport, the best player is protected. Why not the NHL? How do four blind mice watch that play and go, that's not a penalty? So you know what? Do I think should he have cross-checked? No. Do I think 3 games was appropriate? No. That's a 1 or 2, maybe. But I don't blame him, and I totally applaud him for standing up for himself, having the guts to say, you know what, referees, this all could have been avoided if you just had made a 2 minute call for holding or wrangling or cattle roping, whatever you wanted to call it, because that's what it was. And they didn't, and look what happens. All hell breaks loose, and people start getting pissed off and losing their minds and taking bad penalties. And it's unfortunate. None of that should have happened. So good on you, Connor.
Yeah. Now, maybe do you feel that because they gave 3 games to Tyler Myers, that they just matched it with Connor McDavid? Is that possible?
I'm not sure which one came down first. Tyler Myers, that was a stupid penalty. I don't know what that one was more egregious to me. I don't see the rationale for that. I get the frustration in Connor McDavid having a player of that caliber constantly being just manhandled on the ice and no call is made. So I get that. I don't get the Tyler Myers one. He just caught up in the emotion. So I think Tyler Myers should have been more egregious. I think he should have got his 3 games. I don't know what his history is. I don't think he has one before. But to me, Connor McDavid should have been 1 or 2 games just because, yes, it's a cross check to the head. Anything to the head, obviously reviewable and is not good because of player safety stuff. But I always like what led up to it. Let's get the whole big picture. And I'm sorry, the league should share some of the blame on that one because it didn't need to get to that point. The referee should have had better control of that, and none of that other stuff would have happened. So I'm sorry, the league should take a little bit of responsibility for what happened there.
Yeah, they've taken quite some bit of heat over the years for their questionable calls, and I mean, the fact that George Peros is the man handing these things down. I mean, how many suspensions did this player, as a player, did he have in his career? Now, I just want to. We won't be back on for a week, so let's get our game predictions for not only tonight, the Ottawa game. Here I go again, calling it tonight. It's been inbred into my imprinted into my brain from the radio station. But let's get our score predictions for this game, and why not? We'll just give a early score prediction in that Minnesota game.
Well, I think Ottawa's going to come out a little bit angry because of the way things have been going. And the Leafs, I don't like their lines. I don't like their depth. I'm going to take Ottawa in this one at home with, as they always do. The Leafs, I don't like the way they're playing as well. So I'm going to say 4-2 Ottawa, empty net goal.
And the Minnesota game?
The Minnesota game, I'm actually going to be going to that one. So that one I'm going to predict as a win. Buddy of mine, Dave Neve. We do a yearly thing where we get a couple of guys and we go down. So we're gonna go to the Minnesota game. I'm gonna say that one's gonna be a 3-2 narrow one because Minnesota's defensively pretty strong. I'll give the Leafs the win. They'll bounce back for a better team in Minnesota.
Amazing, you know what? And thank you for telling me that because I'm going to lean on your analysts even more come next week.
Try not to have too many beverages so I remember what happened in the game. But
yeah,
I like to watch individual players, and I'm looking forward to seeing the goaltending. And I really want to see Chris Tanev. That's who I'm very excited to see up close, and because I think he does a lot of stuff that TV doesn't do it justice. And I want to watch him get a gauge of the size of him and some of these other players, the goalies as well, and kind of zone in on that. So I'll have something to talk about for sure.
That's amazing. Thank you for letting me know about that. Now, always glass half full. I think Joseph Bull is going to have a great game against Ottawa, and we're going to win 3-1. And for you, I'll take a 4-3 Leaf. Well, yeah, you know what? Open at 5-3 in the Minnesota game. We're going to win the next two and stay above Florida in the Atlantic Division.
Let's hope you're right, and I'll get to see the ugliest uniforms in the NHL. And when I see them.
And you know what? Come next week, I'm a little worried about Connor McDavid coming back and go. God, it's got to be against us.
Of course, yeah.
Well, let's hope he doesn't have a Mario Lemieux effect, and he comes out and lights us up. So
we got to get healthy. We got to get bodies back, and then we've got to augment because we're going to be losing players again. That's all I can say. If we don't get some depth, we're not going very far. Do you feel
that we're going to make some sort of a move, or should we make a move before the February 12th?
Well, I know they'd like to. I mean, the earlier you get the player, the better. I just don't know if other GMs are going to be inclined to do the same. And the Leafs again are not shopping from a position of strength. Once you need something, people are going to overcharge you for it. So I think as the trade deadline gets closer, the value, the asks go up a bit more. So I think knowing True Living, he'll probably want to get it done sooner rather than later. But yeah, there's no doubt he's sitting there going, I need to get better down the middle. We need depth defense. We need a couple of things, right? So I have no doubt he'll do something. I don't know how big, but we'll see. But I think that the roster we see right now, the one I'm looking at for this weekend, is not going to be the same roster that we're going to be opening game one of the playoffs.
No, let's hope not. And let's hope True Living, Mr. True Living, if you're listening to us out there by any possible chance.
Get a life.
Go get that center in the defense and Brandon Tanev just for shits and giggles.
That would be great.
My name's Ken. We're here today on Sports Timeout on Ken's Korner podcast with Joe Moyer. Joe, thank you as always. Enjoy that game on Wednesday, Toronto and Minnesota. Obviously not going to Minnesota, so it's at the Scotiabank Arena, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Ken.